Now, head of school John Palfrey ended his 7-year tenure last year. As the search for the next head of school continues, Jim Ventre is serving as the interim head of school for this year. We talked with Ventre, his colleagues, and students about this new change in leadership. Here's live associate Lexie Mariano with the story.
Thank you. Last March, head of school John Palfrey announced his departure as the 15th head of school, ending his 7-year tenure in the 2018-2019 school year. Now, Palfrey is the 6th president of the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, a large nonprofit organization based out of Chicago. Concerning his departure, Palfrey said, "When I come to Andover, the thing that moved me the most was that it was a chance every day to walk across the street to work on non-civi. The opportunity to do that at the scale that the MacArthur Foundation could do, it felt like the right thing to do." As interim head of school, Ventre plans to continue the initiatives Palfrey had set in place. Ventre is no stranger to Andover, being an alumnus class of '79. After working at Andover Admissions for over 30 years, he was appointed in 2013 as the Dean of Admissions and Director of Financial Aid. Ventre says he is most excited about the inspiration he sees in Andover students and the community as a whole.
For is the inspiration that I find with our students and our faculty and administrators and staff, the people of Andover. That's always been part of my life, that I have gravitated toward things. And the example I would give you is the grand opening of the Oliver Wendell Holmes Library, where I was just standing there greeting students and visitors as they came in, and the energy of the students and the excitement had me all welled up. I was teared up because I was so happy for the students who recognized that Andover made this investment for them.
Ventre is also looking forward to being more involved on campus. He hopes to connect with students and learn more about various student activities and ideas.
So one of the things I've always looked for groups, not necessarily club meetings. It's potentially drawing groups of students together who want to talk about certain things. So I plan to have meetings here. Obviously, I plan to be more visible in other areas on campus, in the makerspace, or overlooking what's going on in a classroom in the art studios here. I think that is important in terms of celebrating the small victories that occur every single day here.
Questions that students always ask Ventre tend to revolve around two topics: Head of School Day, a 28-year-old tradition of canceling classes one day each winter term, and Phelps House, the house on Main Street that has been the residence of every head of school for more than 100 years.
I'm not moving into Phelps House. They are renovating it, which is really important. It needs systems work. In terms of head of school day, yes, there will be a head of school day. I haven't yet decided how I'm going to work that out. I have lots of opinions. I would love to hear your opinions as well. When I was at Andover and at Dartmouth College, I played football and ran track. Those don't have squash rackets or field hockey sticks or items like that. So I'm not sure that it will have an athletic moment, but it will definitely resonate with students. I can promise that. I have some ideas.
Dean of Students Jenny Elliott has worked with Mr. Ventre for the past 2 years on the Senior Administrative Council. She weighs in on the role of interim head of school and about the searching process for the next head of school.
Mr. Ventre, primarily needs to make sure that we keep school and we keep school running and that we create an awesome year for our students who are here right now. In addition, part of the role of the head of school is fundraising, and we're in the middle of a campaign, and right now we're highly concentrated on raising money for financial aid so that we can maintain need-blind admissions forever, we hope. And Mr. Ventre has been a huge champion of need-blind admissions at Andover.
The search committee first met last June to begin the process of finding, meeting, and vetting candidates. The search is led by Amy Falls, President-elect of the Board of Trustees.
We have an awesome search committee that's comprised of faculty members and administrators and trustees. Amy Falls, who's our president-elect of the board, she's chairing that committee. She's a phenomenal leader on this front, and so they've been working really hard in identifying leaders around the country, probably the world, in terms of thinking about folks who are interested in this particular role.
With a smooth change in leadership, Mr. Ventre is already a familiar presence on campus. Members of the Andover community have mostly positive remarks about the transition. Director of Academy Communications Tracy Sweet has worked closely with Mr. Ventre both in his admission leadership role and now as interim head of school. In an email to the Phillipian, Sweet has said, "Mr. Ventre is a thoughtful leader, a dedicated team player, and a visionary, always thinking of ways to make Andover even stronger." Others weigh in.
I mean, I haven't interacted with Mr. Ventre, many times, but he always remembers my name. He's a funny guy, he's a nice guy. So I was glad that they had someone like him taking over in this time that's very uncertain, I guess, about what comes next. Obviously, I was really sad that Mr. Palfrey was leaving, but I was glad that they had someone like Mr. Ventre to come.
Working with him now as our interim head of school has been such a delight. The ways that he's moved into this role, I think Mr. Ventre is one of the more generous and hardworking colleagues I've ever worked with. His willingness to step up and serve in this role is such a tremendous example of his generosity and love of this place.
Lexie Mariano reporting.